How you do it? Hi guys, welcome. Hey guys, we are here for a special edition of Get Real with Rick Dancer, and we're gonna get real. you want to know who to vote for? You want to know political candidates on here? We just went to the top. This is Knute Buehler running for governor in Oregon against the current governor, Kate Brown. And Knute and I were talking the other day because it's moving. A new poll shows that you guys are, it's a dead heat.
Yeah, it's a dead heat. So that's where we like to be at this point.
So you got a great endorsement from the Oregonian. That's pretty unusual for an R to get you know, that's kind of the thing that everybody wants.
Yeah, especially Rick against a sitting incumbent governor. We can't remember the last time that happened where the Oregonian didn't endorse an incumbent governor, but that speaks loudly, certainly.
So do this. I'm going to share this a little bit on some pages because I want other people to be able to see this. But again, you guys, this is Knute Buehler running for governor of Oregon. You're going to get your ballots in the mail starting probably today. And so that's why we have him on today. He's in town talking with folks. But tell people a little bit about what you want to do as governor, and then I'm going to share this, and then I'll come back and ask you some questions. Okay?
Yeah.
You can lean forward a little bit there, Knute.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rick, thanks a lot for having me. Thanks everyone for listening and paying attention to Oregon politics. It's a very important time, as you can imagine, in Oregon politics. And the most important question I think you should ask anyone running for any political office is why. Why are you running? Why do you want to enter this political realm and serve? And my reason for running for governor is very, very simple, very straightforward. I want to fix the big problems in Oregon that have been avoided, ignored, and quite frankly, made a lot worse by Governor Brown. And to help those people who've been left out and left behind over the last 4 years. And we have some big problems that we need to fix with regards to our K-12 schools, our growing homeless crisis, foster kids, vulnerable foster kids who aren't being adequately taken care of in a classroom funding crisis, meaning too many of the dollars just aren't getting into the classroom to kids.
What's your position on the Second Amendment?
Yeah, so I am pro-Second Amendment. I've always had an NRA rating A, but I also think that we have a problem in the state with regards, or for that matter, the nation with regards to gun-related violence, and we need to address that problem. I did vote to close the boyfriend loophole this last legislative session.
Now, what is the boyfriend loophole?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't see it so much as gun control legislation, but rather legislation to keep women and children safe. And the boyfriend loophole restricts people who have a restraining order or convicted of domestic abuse from having a firearm. In what the data shows, unfortunately, the data is pretty overwhelming, is that 80% of the women or kids murdered in Oregon was due to the hands of a domestic abuser. So I really see this as a law that will keep kids safe. But I don't think that's enough to deal with our gun-related violence problem in this country. We also need better mental health care. We need more resources getting into our schools. We need more helplines. We need more counseling. We need more school resource officers.
Mental health is a big issue in Oregon, isn't it?
We're
going to have a train go by, you guys, and that's because my office is right at the 5th Street Market. So I warned Knute that this was going to happen. Here we go. Talk about urban Eugene, huh?
You have it well timed, Rick. You have it well timed.
If you're elected in position, what are your goals on human trafficking here in the state?
Let me talk about the mental health care system, and then we can maybe address some of those things.
Okay.
So what people may not realize is that Oregon has one of the worst mental health care systems in the entire nation. It's under, actually, it's so troubled that it's under federal Department of Justice investigation and oversight right now. And as I travel around the state and walk along our city streets, not just in Portland and Eugene, but so many places now, is under Governor Brown, too many people are falling through the cracks. When I'm governor, anyone who needs access to mental health care is going to get it, and we have a plan to make that a clear policy.
A lot of things that I heard on here, when I put this out, I put a notice that Knute was going to be here. And a lot of people came on, and while it's not Eugene, but this is everywhere, they were saying, what are you going to do about Portland? And it's become dirty. And Eugene, to some degree, is the same thing. There's a lot of homelessness in our state. and there's a lot of people just out on the streets. What are we going to do? Because I know this is big on your agenda.
Yeah, homelessness is a problem that we really have to solve. It's become a humanitarian crisis, a public health crisis, and increasingly, Rick, a public safety crisis. And it's gotten much worse under Governor Brown, and not just in the Portland metro area, but now all across the state. Just last month, we were named #1 in the entire nation for the number of homeless youth. Now, that's not what anyone wants for Oregon. It's related to our broken foster care system. But I've taken this problem seriously. The last 6 months, I've toured the state looking at facilities and programs that do a good job and some that quite frankly aren't doing a good job. And the ones that are really moving the dial, really helping people, they combine a clear philosophy, meaning they offer compassion, they expect responsibility, and they build independence. And that's the winning formula, and that's what I would really concentrate resources and funding on, those types of programs when I'm governor.
So rather than create new ones, go to the programs that are already doing it and have them do that sort of thing?
And leverage those good efforts. You know, there's a lot of nonprofits in the state, the faith community, but there's a role for local government and state government. This is a problem that's got beyond local government or nonprofit sector ability to solve, and the Governor Brown, has been absent with regards to this, and I'll lead, and I have a specific vision to end Oregon homelessness over the next 5 years, and we're going to start with that, moving on that goal by creating 4,000 emergency temporary shelters right away. Let's get people off the streets. In my opinion, in Oregon, a sidewalk or a tent should no longer be anyone's home. That's very important to me.
Let's address the education thing, because I know Governor Brown is hitting you with some issues, some things that are out of context in terms of what you voted for and what you haven't voted for, and where that goes. And you guys, that's the thing you really have to look at, and when you're looking at people and looking at issues, is the context of when it happened. So you were just explaining to me something. I want you to explain it to them.
Yeah. So one of the ads that Governor Brown has been running over and over again is I voted against Oregon's K-12 budget. That's true, but the context is that I voted against it because I thought it was too small. In fact, I gave a speech on the House floor saying that we've underfunded K-12 education in Oregon for decades, that we need a bigger allocation to Oregon schools because way too many school districts, and I've seen this as I've traveled around the state, especially this summer, school district after school district in Oregon are cutting teachers and key programs, and that's just not right. We need to get more dollars into the classroom.
So Ed, you just asked, you wanted to hear the explanation. You just heard it right there. So you actually you didn't vote for the bill because you thought it deserved more money.
That's right.
And you said that on the House floor.
Yeah, and my proposal for this next budget is to increase the K-12 budget by 15% in the next 2 biennium. And we'll do that because hardworking Oregonians have produced record revenue. In fact, we're going to be up $2 billion over the last budget. And I strongly believe that a good portion, a large portion of those resources should go to Oregon kids in our K-12 schools.
Now, one of the things I read in so recently the Oregonian and the Portland Tribune.
Yeah, just today the Tribune
endorsed Knute to be the candidate they would support as governor, that we should support as governor, and I agree. One of the things the Oregonian said was that Kate Brown had no vision and no urgency to solve the problems in 4 years of being the governor, and I think that says a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, Oregon's at a pretty good place in terms of financially, the economy,
yes.
and to have people homeless in this state still, and just have lip service to that, it doesn't work.
Well, my concerns, Rick, for all of us, is that we have these big pressing problems that aren't solved. You know, one of the worst homeless crisis in the nation, underperforming schools, some of the worst schools in the nation. In fact, they're in the bottom 5, and we have record revenue. What happens when we have the inevitable downturn and we haven't solved these problems when we have the resources to do so right now? So, and I hear that everywhere I go. People are just disappointed that we have so much promise in this state. You know, it's a wonderfully beautiful place to live. We have a lot of talented people. We have an abundance of natural resources and now record revenue, but our most pressing problems aren't being solved, and that's disappointing for people.
One of the other things you mentioned in your literature and that kind of stuff, and it's a huge concern when I ran for Secretary of State, you travel the state like we get to do,
yeah.
And you see how many rural Oregonians are completely disenfranchised because Portland and Eugene and Salem basically elect the state.
Yeah.
And you've got all these people out in the hinterlands. How do we get rid of that divide? How do we bring ourselves together? Because we are one Oregon, or we need to be.
Yeah. Great question, Rick. And someone who's obviously been around Oregon for a long time and seen that growing opportunity and achievement gap that has developed in Oregon between rural Oregon and urban Oregon. Now, we need a governor who leads, who immediately starts to bring people together. And the first step is just listening to one another, just meeting each other on a personal level, and then importantly, start making sure that everyone has access to high quality K through 12 education, no matter what your zip code or your family income. Look, that was my elevator to success. I grew up in rural Oregon, Rick. I don't know if you remember. I grew up in Roseburg, and look, my parents didn't even graduate from high school, so they always stressed to us the importance of getting a really high quality education, and I took them seriously with regards to that. And Oregon Public Schools was really my elevator to success. And my concern right now is too many kids don't have that opportunity because of Oregon's underperforming K through 12 schools.
So what makes a good leader?
That's a really good question. In my opinion, a leader of any organization has these kinds of characteristics. One, they provide a vision, a strategic vision of what they want to occur. The second thing is you hire, and importantly, Rick, keep good people around you to enact that vision. And then third, as a leader, you create the culture for those people that you've hired to be successful. And also a leader is able to make hard decisions, sometimes even going against their friends and allies if they know it's the right thing to do for the people of Oregon. And that's where Governor Brown really has not been able to do that. She hasn't been willing to use her political capital to take on some of these big problems. I will. And look, I have a reputation, like you, of breaking, from traditional political labels.
The dude is a moderate. I mean,
I'm a pro-choice guy and a mostly pro-life party. I voted, for coal to clean, to transition Oregon away from coal-based electricity to renewables. I'll speak out when I think Trump is wrong, frequently on immigration, on cutting Medicaid, on those types of things. So I'm a fiercely independent guy, and that's just how I roll.
And even the Oregonian was saying what a moderate guy you are. And don't you think? See, and that's why I am supporting him, because we don't need, to me, and this is my personal thing, Knute is paying for this time. His campaign pays for this show. So that's Get Real. That's how this works, okay? My thing is that we need to get somebody in there who will listen to the Democrats, because Democrats are people. They're our neighbors. And Republicans, despite what you think, they are people and they are our neighbors. And you need somebody who's listening to all these people, putting this together and saying, where is the nasty word is not compromise. Compromise is how things get done. Good God, are you married? Do you have children? Do you have a job? It's okay for the governor to lead both Democrats and Republicans and middle people together. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, and I approach policy making and lawmaking like I've been trained as a physician. Rick, if you came to me as a patient, I don't ask if you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. I ask you what your problem is. I take in the data, I gather information, then I roll up my sleeves and solve your problems. And that's my reputation in the legislature of leading with an open mind, caring heart, and a thoughtful voice. And that's the same approach I'll take as Oregon's next governor.
Do you think that Oregon, I did a documentary on Mark Hatfield, and Mark Hatfield said one time, he goes, Rick, we used to be a state where we'd let people disagree with this. Like, maybe I don't agree with you on all your positions, but I'm going to find some common ground and do something. And he said, I think we've kind of lost that. How do we get that back, Knute? How do we get that back where it's not each little issue? Well, if you don't agree with me on this or this, but taking that in a more holistic look at it.
Yeah. It's called leadership, and leadership from a governor. Leadership that is a lot more independent and less partisan. Leadership that is more interested in innovative ideas and a particular ideology and focus on problem solving, not on winning the argument. I think all too often in our political realm, it's about winning an argument, and maybe we have too many lawyers, Rick, because lawyers are trained really to win the argument, not necessarily solve the problem. Now, as a scientist and a physician, I'm trained to solve a problem.
If I come in with an orthopedic problem, you got to solve it.
I just want to solve your problem, and that's my approach to policy making. I'll listen to the problem, and I'll be an independent-minded governor for all of Oregon, no matter who you are, where you live, who you happen to love, and no matter if you're registered as a Democrat, Republican, or independent. That's just the way I approach things.
A couple of things. People are saying, how do you fund these programs? Is there money in this budget to fund that?
Yeah.
What you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So the good news is for everyone listening is that hardworking Oregonians have produced record revenue. The budget is projected to be up $2.2 billion. That's almost
because the economy's doing well.
The economy's very healthy. So we have $2.2 billion more. I want to put a large portion of those dollars into the classroom for kids, that we can restore Oregon's lost school year, for example. Oregon has one of the shortest school years in the nation right now. If a kid goes to school for a full 12 years in Oregon, they'll actually be in the classroom a full year less than almost any other kid in the nation. And I think that's not really fair for our kids in terms of getting into college, performing on tests, or even getting a job. So those are the kinds of programs that we can fully fund now that we have record revenue.
And somebody's saying pay the teachers, and you're
absolutely. I think we need to provide more inspiration. Teachers are so frustrated right now by the situation in our schools. Some of the worst schools. There's certainly excellent schools in shining examples of excellence in Oregon, but overall Oregon schools is in the bottom 5 in the nation with regards to graduation rates, the length of our school year, absentee rates. We need some aspiration, some hope. We need to help teachers have more professional development and make sure that there's a master teacher track so that they can really thrive in the classroom.
And again, you guys, we're talking to Knute Buehler, candidate for Oregon Governor, endorsed by the Portland Tribune today. This week, he was by the Oregonian, the biggest newspaper in the state. Somebody is bringing up sanctuary status. Your opinion on that, and I don't know if that's something you want to get into.
Yeah. Certainly this is not something I'm campaigning on, but that we need to add clarity in Oregon where there's confusion with regards to immigration laws, and this is really as a result of a broken federal immigration laws. It's the fault of both parties. Both Republicans and Democrats haven't solved this problem. I will bring clarity in Oregon to where there is confusion right now, no matter if Measure 105, for example, passes or fails. And I want to emphasize a few things that I will do as governor. Absolutely make sure there's no racial profiling. It will not be tolerated in Oregon. The second thing is, no matter if you're here as a citizen or undocumented, you should feel secure and safe approaching law enforcement, especially if you're a victim or a witness to a crime. And thirdly, if you've been convicted or charged with a serious crime, there will be collaboration between local law enforcement and federal immigration. That will be the policy that we'll have in Oregon while I'm governor, and that will keep everyone safe, not only citizens but people here undocumented.
PERS.
PERS.
I just have to say PERS.
Yeah.
PERS.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote on here PERS.
Yeah, PERS are broken public retirement system, which is unfortunately, it's like a 900-pound gorilla, Rick, that is eating all the revenue that should be going to essential state services, providing health care, taking care of foster kids, getting it into our schools, and too many of those dollars are being diverted to buttress that failing pension system. Here's what I would do. We have to bring this issue to the top of the political agenda.
Which is going to be hard to do, because a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
That's right.
At least in the legislature.
I will talk about it. I will force this issue. I will not sign a single new spending bill until I have a PERS reform bill on my desk. And here's some of the features I want to see of that bill. One is stop the big monthly payouts, the big $50,000 a month payouts that some people are getting. Limit that at $100,000 a year salary calculation. The second thing we need to do is government employees need to contribute to their own PERS retirement plan. For the longest time, Oregon's been the only state in the nation that hasn't required that of our public employees. And importantly, going forward, and I want to stress going forward because the courts have been clear, and I really think it's not fair to change people's benefits.
Right. If you're counting on retirement,
yeah.
you see, we can't go in there and just take that away from people.
We can't take it. If people are retired, they have those dollars. But going forward, transition everyone away from PERS into a 401k type plan with an employer contribution. That will stabilize the plan and importantly put about $1 billion back into our state budget. They can be used for schools and taking care of foster kids and other things. So
the difference between you and Kate Brown, biggest differences, do you think?
Leadership. and a track record of leadership. And leadership, as we touched upon earlier, it's just not a strategic vision and hiring and keeping good people and creating a healthy culture for their success. But it's also about telling your friends and your supporters that they're wrong and this is what we need to do because it's the right thing for the people of Oregon. And I have a track record of doing that. For example, Rick, I'm pro-choice and mostly pro-life party. I went against business interests and people in my party and voted for the transitioning Oregon from coal-based electricity to renewables. I have voted for gun safety legislation closing the loophole. And those are difficult stances, but those are the things that a leader has to do. And Governor Brown can't give me a single instance where she's shown that kind of leadership and spoke out against her key political supporters.
Your staff's behind you because you're supposed to get to Portland, but I got one more question. He's supposed to be on his way to Portland, so so one last question. Is there hope in Oregon?
Oh, absolutely. The state, Rick, is hungry for leadership and importantly for change. And I intend to be the change that this state so clearly needs and produce a victory that is aspirational, that is hopeful for Oregonians and offers so much promise where people have unfortunately not had their problems solved for so long and reset what is possible in politics in this state.
All right. Knute Buehler, candidate for Oregon Governor. You will be getting your ballots in the mail. And really glad to have you here.
Thanks
and,
a lot, Rick.
Yeah, glad to
Yep.
support you.
Yep.
I like
Thanks
what
a
you're
lot.
doing.
I
And I don't
appreciate
do
your
that
support.
very often out in public anymore. He knows that. I don't take a stand like that because I don't want all of you going, I knew you're still a Republican. I'm not. I'm a non-affiliated voter. But you know what? I do know how to see when somebody's going to actually lead something. And I haven't seen that from the history that I've watched myself and a lot of other people. And so I have hope that this man can do that. So if you do too, there's your guy. That's about,
Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome,
All right.
man. You
Thanks
get
for
to
having me.
Portland. You got to get out of here.
All right.
Okay, guys, we'll talk to
See
you
ya.
guys later. Share this if
See
you
ya.
want to. Thanks a lot. And you might have your staff go in there. There's a whole bunch of questions in there. People
Okay.
could go in and get some questions to you that you can answer for them.
All right.
All right,
got
see
it.
you guys.